And welcome into the Everything Podcast, episode 33, here on a Tuesday in the month of June. I am Will, the co-host of the Everything Podcast. Cam is out today, but I am back from last week when I had some family in town and I was not able to join Cam, and I will be doing the show for you all today, thanks to Cam and his friends for holding down the fort without me last week. I'm going to get right into things in a second, but let me give you a quick rundown of what we are going to be covering today on the show. I'm going to discuss my team, the Golden State Warriors, defeating Cam's team, the Boston Celtics, in the NBA Finals, because you have not heard from me since the Game 6 NBA Finals halftime show here on the Everything Podcast YouTube channel. I am going to give my official, final review of Obi-Wan Kenobi now that the 6-episode miniseries is over. And I am going to also discuss Miss Marvel as we are halfway through that 6-episode Disney Plus show. And you heard me say that I didn't really enjoy the first episode that much. So has my opinion changed? You're going to find out in a little bit. And Thor, Love, and Thunder. We are inching closer and closer to the summer blockbuster that is going to hit theaters on July 8th. We've had some clips, some scenes actually come out from the movie, and more TV spots as well that we're going to dive into here today. And then I've got some announcements and things to say just regarding the podcast. But without further ado, let me get into my team, the Golden State Warriors, winning the NBA championship. And let me just start by saying this. I won't lie. I did not see this coming. After Game 6 of the 2019 Finals, the Warriors would be without Klay Thompson for the next season. They lost Kevin Durant to free agency. They were the worst team in basketball that year. And then during the 2020-2021 season, they were a mediocre team, did finish the year 15-5, went on a 6-game home winning streak. Steph Curry had, in my opinion, the best season of his career, considering the circumstances and the fact that he had never, gotten guarded at that rate before and still put up numbers historic and never seen before in the NBA. But heading into this season, I didn't know what Klay Thompson would look like when he returned. I didn't see this roster greatly improved. They added Otto Porter Jr. and Nemanja Bjelica in the offseason, but Otto Porter Jr. had an injury history, and neither of these guys are these big, flashy signings that you would expect to really have an impact on your team. But lo and behold, the Warriors just got off to a fantastic start. At first, they were beating subpar teams, and they had an easy schedule. So I was like, okay, let's see when they start playing juggernauts like the Nets and the Bucks and teams of that nature. And well, they did. They played the Nets, and they beat them behind 37 points from Steph Curry and a great performance from Draymond Green. They beat the Chicago Bulls, who had had an excellent start to the season. So that's when my opinion started to change a bit, and I was like, okay, I don't want to be a homer and walk around gloating about how I think this team is going to win the title. So I didn't do that, but I was really encouraged with the way that they had been playing. But then, let me tell you the part of the season for the Golden State Warriors that gave me the most hope, and at the time, actually made me say and think that they should be the favorites to win the NBA championship. And through the turbulent times of Draymond Green being out and them struggling, and Steph Curry being out and them struggling, this was something that I could always point back to. So, at a stretch in the Golden State Warriors season about late December, they had a COVID rush hit the team. And they had other guys out as well that were key parts of the team. But Draymond Green, out. Andrew Wiggins, out. In COVID protocol. Those are two starting caliber players. And on Christmas Day, Green was playing in this game. But on Christmas Day, they go into Phoenix on the road, Phoenix fully healthy, and should absolutely win this game to prove that they're the best team in the Western Conference and not the Golden State Warriors. They go into Phoenix on Christmas Day undermanned, and they win that game. And even though Steph Curry had 33, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well. I believe he actually might have shot something very bad, like 10 for 27 in that game. So, was it really Steph Curry who beat the Phoenix Suns in that game? Believe it or not, the guy who delivered the knockout punches down the stretch was Otto Porter Jr. Some big threes down the stretch in that game. So you have that win on Christmas Day. Fast forward a week later, another holiday, New Year's Day, against the Utah Jazz, who had been playing very well, I believe, third seed in the Western Conference at that time. No Green or Wiggins in this game, and Klay Thompson has not come back yet. Oh yeah, they won that game too. I mean, that is what championship teams do. They lose guys. They lose starting caliber players like Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green, and they are still able to go on the road into hostile environments like Phoenix and Utah and win. That is the sign of a championship team. And, look, I was, not liking what I was seeing, when Draymond Green was out and they were struggling and Steph Curry was out and they were struggling and going into the playoffs. I mean, I didn't think they would win the title. Heck, I thought they would beat Denver and then probably lose in the Western Conference semifinals. But during all those struggling times and stuff, I was always able to look back to that stretch of games when they were without guys due to being in COVID protocol. And they get a win like that against Phoenix on the road. A win like that against Utah on the road. Oh, and they beat Memphis as well during that stretch. I mean, that is what championship teams do. You are not at full strength, you play quality opponents, and you are still able to find a way to win. So, that was just the part of the season that sold me on this team. And, if you ask me, is this my favorite title of the four, 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2022? Yes, it is. And believe it or not, of course, winning it without KD and shutting up the Steph haters, that's, very top of the mountain for, why, this is my favorite championship. And also, of course, the fact that, like in 2015, nobody expected this to happen. Nobody thought they would win the title. But I would say the biggest reason why, and of course that it's a likable team as well. If it's your favorite, title team, they've got to be a likable team. But I think the thing that makes this the favorite title for me is the adversity that they had to go through to get here. 2015 season, they were a dominant team all throughout. 2017, KD, Steph, Dre, Clay. I mean, come on, who's going to beat that team? They did have injuries in 2018, but, still dominant, once the playoffs came. This team entered the postseason not being looked at as the favorites. There were times when Draymond Green was out and then Steph Curry was out, and this is in the later part of the season when you should be peaking and playing at the right time. And I mean, things did just not look good. And for them to be able to put it all together at the start of the playoffs and go on the run that they did, I am just so proud of this team as a fan and what they were able to accomplish. And I'm going to end by saying this. I believe the man who should be getting as much credit, and I'm not saying he isn't, but as much credit as anybody, in this entire Warriors process of going from the worst team in the league a couple seasons ago to now top of the mountain again and NBA champions, is the general manager and president of basketball operations for the Golden State Warriors, Bob Myers. This guy builds up a close enough relationship with Kevin Durant to make him agree to do a sign and trade. A sign and trade, which got the Golden State Warriors at the time D'Angelo Russell from the Brooklyn Nets, and they were able to turn that into Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga. Andrew Wiggins, who was the Warriors' second best player and second most consistent player this entire postseason after Steph Curry. No disrespect to Draymond Green, but he struggled in the finals. And Jonathan Kuminga, who was just such an exciting player to watch and showed so much potential during this season, a future franchise building block. Bob Myers was able to make Kevin Durant agree to do a sign and trade that got the Warriors a guy who they will forever be grateful for in Andrew Wiggins, and a future franchise building block in Jonathan Kuminga. And also, he picked up Otto Porter Jr. in the offseason last year, and he was just an extremely, extremely quality pickup and played excellent for Golden State in the postseason. That is how you prove yourself as a general manager. You don't just, have all this talent and, it's easy to win. No, Bob Myers was in a tough spot, about to lose KD, but he made him agree to do a sign and trade, and look what it turned into. So Bob Myers deserves just a bunch of credit, in my opinion. Look, I could go on and on about this. I mean, I could talk about Klay Thompson's return, Steph Curry shutting up the doubters, Steve Kerr, but for now, I think I should transition to some other things on the docket for today. And I'm going to start with Obi-Wan Kenobi, the 6-episode mini-series that's out on Disney Plus right now. If you haven't seen it yet, Cam also did a review of it on the Only Movie Show, which you can check out on this Everything Podcast YouTube channel right now. And let me tell you something. I loved this show. I believe that Obi-Wan Kenobi, this show, is one of the best things that Star Wars has had to offer. It was just so great to see where Obi-Wan Kenobi was 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith and the downfall of his Padawan Anakin Skywalker. And I considered this to be the best Darth Vader that Star Wars has ever created. He was horrifying in this show, especially in episode 3, where he's just walking down an aisle, murdering people by lifting up his hand. This was the Darth Vader and the bad guy that you would want. And I was just so pleased with how he was done in this series. I mean, being able to see Obi-Wan Kenobi and Leia together more was just so fantastic. Being able to see more Luke Skywalker was fantastic. You know, throughout the show, I was like, this is excellent, but I wonder where Palpatine is, and I wish we could see, you know, him and Darth Vader interact at some time. Well, oh yeah, we got that. I was hoping for Liam Neeson to make a cameo as Qui-Gon Jinn. Oh yeah, we get that. And oh my gosh, episode 5 and what they did with the Reva the Third Sister character, I just thought was brilliant, and I got episode 5 as my favorite episode of this show. I considered that just a brilliant, riveting episode with the turn of events of that character who you thought was evil, but boy did it not turn out that way. So I've been thinking a lot about my grade for this show, and at first I was thinking, A, because, like, you could complain about things like the Leia, chase scene in episode 2, which wouldn't make sense why she would be able to run away from those people, but you know what? I'm gonna give this show an A+. I am giving this show an A+, because I could not have asked for anything more from it. I get Obi-Wan Kenobi and Leia together. I get 2 more Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader fights. And the dialogue and the story I just found brilliant, riveting, and excellent. So I couldn't have asked for anything more from this show. I'm going to give it an A+. Now, on to the 6-episode mini-series that Marvel Studios has out on Disney Plus right now. It's 3 episodes in, so you can start watching it if you have not yet. So, Miss Marvel, first of all, the fact that it's about a, Pakistani, family and what they're doing in that regard, I consider really, really powerful and awesome about this show. And it's not like I won't look forward to seeing the character in the Marvels next year with Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau. I think that could be a good movie. But I sadly just have not enjoyed this show. In episode 1, I could actually sometimes not even really understand what the characters were saying because they were just talking kind of quietly. I'm not impressed with the pace. I just think it's too fast. It's gotten better since the first episode, but I just think it could have just a much different, pace and tone than has been the case. And I just don't feel too connected to the characters. I think Bruno is the best character in the show. He's a great guy, and I enjoy him when he's on screen, but there's just nothing just incredibly compelling to me about this show, and I think a lot of that has to do with the pace. I just wish they would slow it down and stuff, so, in terms of what they're trying to do in this show. Yeah, you know what? in both of Marvel Studios' Disney Plus releases this year, this is what I've settled on. Moon Knight and, so far, with Miss Marvel halfway through this show. In terms of what they are trying to do, I give them an A+, in terms of what they are trying to do. But in terms of execution and actually making the products a good show, I just don't have a great grade for either of them. I'm sorry to say. So look, Miss Marvel has 3 episodes to go to make me change my opinion, but the worst thing is when a show comes out every single Wednesday and you're just not really looking forward to it that much, and you're like, Miss Marvel this week, okay, I'll watch it, but I'm not very excited for it. And I'm sorry to say, but that's just what's been going on for me with this show, so it's got 3 episodes to prove me wrong, but I don't see how it's going to unless there's just a significant change in the pace, and it gets me more engaged with the characters that it has so far. So I'll give an official grade and stuff on the Everything podcast when this show is over. Anyway, enough of me talking negatively about something. Let us go to Thor, Love, and Thunder, the summer blockbuster coming out July 8th, which I am just so incredibly excited for. I picked up a Hollywood Spotlight magazine just now titled The Ultimate Guide to Thor. It says the God of Thunder is back, all about the hero's return, secrets from the set. Every movie in the MCU, they take you through all 4 MCU phases, and there is also a magazine out right now from Total Film magazine, I believe, with Thor, Love and Thunder as their cover stories. If you're looking for things to get you excited for the movie, those are some things to check out. But we've had some more TV spots come out and actual clips, scenes from the movie, 4 of them, since I have last talked to you, and all of them just continue to get me excited for this film. You already had a classic Thor Peter Quill scene in the first trailer when Peter Quill says to Thor, "Remember what I told you, you ever feel lost, just look into the eyes of the people that you love." Well, in one of their latest TV spots that was about an hour and a minute and 20 seconds, Thor teaching Star-Lord the Asgardian handshake, I just found so incredibly funny, and I can't wait to see the two of them interact even more on the big screen. I mean, having the scene where, Jane Foster catches the hammer out right now, I love. So I just think this is going to be, I do think this is going to be my favorite Thor movie at the end of the day, because we're going to get, in my opinion, one of the best Marvel villains yet in Gore the God Butcher. And let me just say all the characters that we're going to have in this show, or in this film. We're going to have Thor, Jane Foster, Valkyrie, Korg, Guardians of the Galaxy, Gore, and Zeus. All of these characters, these beloved characters in one film. I think it's going to be an epic movie experience. I've loved the good reviews so far. I just hope I get a good amount of Guardians of the Galaxy at the start of the film, because I was just really looking forward to seeing them go on journeys with Thor after the events of Avengers Endgame, but it just doesn't look like, there's going to be any more of that after this movie. So that's why I'm hoping that, as Cam has proposed on the Everything podcast, I just hope that we can get them for the first 30 minutes of the film. That would make me satisfied enough. But trust me and Cam will do an entire episode just focused on this film, because that's how epic and fantastic we think that it's going to be. Alrighty. I would like to say this. Todd, what grinds my gears? If you haven't seen the podcast, we've added Todd to the Everything podcast, and he has a show, 7 episodes of it, called What Grinds My Gears, where he talks about things that, yes, grind his gears, drive him crazy, get under his skin, aggravate him. And in this last one, he said that he's going to be asking for a pay raise and that he might need to fly out here to California in the West Coast to talk to me about that. And, Todd, if you're going to be asking about contracts and stuff, well, talk to Cam, because he's the director, creator extraordinaire of this show. And if you really want to talk to me in person, well, don't fret, because I will be coming out to Massachusetts next month to visit you, and you can talk to me about that, all that you want to. So that's all that I have to say about Todd asking for a pay raise and saying that he might have to fly out to the West Coast. But so great to have you back, Todd. I know you took a bit of a break and you were busy with work, but I adore your show, What Grinds My Gears, and it's great to have you back. By the way, I wanted to mention how last Friday, the 1-year anniversary of the Everything podcast, we started last June 24th, and here we are a year later. Our fan base has grown. We're up to 34 subscribers. So, I just wanted to say that, you know, I'm proud of how we've improved the podcast. I think we've improved with our content and the way that we do it. And I just want to thank all of our fans and all of our supporters out there. We just really, really appreciate your support, and thank you for tuning in each and every Tuesday to these episodes. And I would also like to thank the host of the show, Cam, for inviting me to do this with him. It's just been so much fun, and I don't see this ending anytime soon, so let's keep this going. The Only Movie Show, even though it is called The Only Movie Show, you know, we will, you know, sneak in TV shows and stuff to it, and, you know, because, like, you know, these Star Wars shows are, for instance, born from a movie franchise, we will be covering stuff like some Star Wars shows on there. I mentioned earlier, Cam has an episode of The Only Movie Show with his review of Obi-Wan Kenobi out right now, so I would encourage you to check that out. And this Thursday, you will get my review of the Book of Boba Fett. Final thing that I want to say is that I will be gone next week. I will be on vacation, but Cam will be there to take care of this for you. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Everything podcast, and I will see you on Thursday for The Only Movie Show. And in terms of being back here on this podcast, I will see you in a couple of weeks.